Hello, BookTube. It's Joshua here, and it's been a while. I think it's been about 2 weeks since I last posted a video, and I'm here to give you a little reading update because last week I finished my midterm exams, and this week I actually have a week off. So I spent the weekend, this last weekend, finishing the book that I was reading, and I want to update you guys on it, and also tell you, and also talk about what I'm going to read in the future, because it's very nice to have a week off, and I have way more free time now, for the week at least, and so I'm excited. And I've been really enjoying, being able to complete my personal reading. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna show you a bunch of books that I have read. Well, one book that I have read, and then I'll talk about the other ones that I want to read. So the last time I updated you guys, which was a while ago, I think like a month ago, I think, um, I was reading The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, and I just finished it yesterday, and it was amazing. I mean, well, it was a really wonderful experience. Although I had, I guess, what you would call a reading slump, because um, I was getting a lot done throughout the winter break, and I had started this in December, I think earlier in December, and then once school started, it kind of just, it really fizzled out. All the momentum just kind of died out, and I was really just crawling through the book, and only reading bit by bit. Um, I guess because whenever I have, when I'm doing my classes, I always have readings to be done for the next class, for the next lecture. So whenever I want to go pick this up, I think, oh, but I could also do my readings for my school, and I guess that should take primary urgency over this. So I went through this really slowly, but in the past weekend, I just finished it off. I read the last 200 pages, and I'm kind of awed by it. It's such a grand story. I mean, just everything about it. The military history is kind of epic in its proportions. And then learning, and also it's very bleak, of course. There was one chapter dedicated to which was titled "The New Order." So that was dedicated to the Holocaust, of course. And it was only one chapter dedicated to it. All the other ones were about the military history and the political history and what was going on in the German headquarters and all of that. But the chapter on the Holocaust was, I mean, some of the descriptions that were given, just the pure sadism of what was done, was really hard to get through. I had to take a couple of breaks reading through that because I couldn't go through it all at once. I had to just stop and then do something else and then come back to it. And I won't give you I won't give you guys the descriptions, because we all know, or I hope we all know, the horrors of what happened. I mean, I think it's something that everyone learns at school, although you get people today who sometimes deny it. But yeah, so overall, this book was amazing. Shirer writes, like he Shirer has a really readable style, and he really knows how to keep how to move the narrative along. Of course, he's not like making up the story. But he's really good at keeping you engaged and writing in a way that's super engaging and readable, and not stuffed up with any kind of academic prose or very scholarly words or anything. It's really wonderfully written. And yeah, the last time I updated you guys, I think I was at the part where the war was just starting, I think. And now now there's a lot that I could recount, but I don't think I'll be able to recount it all. I won't tell you. I won't tell you the contents of it, but I'm sure most of you guys already know. But I just really enjoyed this a lot. Yeah. And I want to read more in the future. Maybe this year, not immediately though, because I want to take a little break from the subject. But you know, I think I've mentioned a number of times, so I don't need to do it again maybe, but like I have other World War II books that are waiting for me, so I'd really love to get to those. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to learn more just about history in general. I really um, like, I think I'm really starting to enjoy history more and more as I read more and more of it, because there are some, I mean, this book proved to me that there are human stories that are just as entertaining, just as gripping and moving as a fictional story can be. Um, Reading especially the account of the anti-Nazi, the anti-Nazi revolution, or the attempted coup in 1944 by anti-Nazis within Germany. Reading the story of the leader of it, mainly Stauffenberg, that was, first of all, completely thrilling. They came this close to actually assassinating Hitler. I mean, really, I won't count the story, but it was just thrilling reading, and I was biting my nails when Shirer was telling it. I really like to find a book which is dedicated solely to that story, because I just thought it was amazing, and tragic, because they all die in the end. This assassination attempt doesn't succeed, and everyone involved gets hung. So yeah, an amazing but bleak read. And then the last time that I updated you guys, I was also reading Dune, or I was starting it, and this kind of floundered for me. I was going to buddy read this with a university friend, but I got a bit, I got lazy, and I don't, maybe I'm not a very good buddy reader, because yeah, I kind of stalled, and I got to page, I think, 150, but then my friend was way ahead of me, and he went on, and I just kind of I couldn't keep up, so and then that was at the same time that I got really busy with school, and so I didn't hardly read this at all. So yeah, I stalled at about 150 pages, and then I just kind of gave up on it. So I read this for the second time earlier in the summer, and I wanted to read it a third time, but I think I'm just going to put this down and come back to it sometime in the future, but not in the near future. So yeah, so I didn't finish this. Certainly not because of any faults in the book, but it was just my own personal, what was happening in my life. I did also read one more thing. And I don't usually read poetry collections. I read the poetry of Ursula K. Guin, one of her books specifically titled Finding My Elegy, and I don't typically read poetry collections front to back. Oftentimes it's more scattershot. I'll read just one poem at a time and return to it, and it's kind of very slow, to be honest. But I decided to read this collection front to back, and it was very delightful. I should maybe try to read more collections just front to back, because you get a sense of the collection as a whole, and you can see the contrasts between poems that were placed next to each other, and if it's organized well, there's a real, I think, aesthetic pleasure from reading it in that way, and I haven't done it enough. But I really, in general, I really enjoyed Ursula K. Le Guin's poetry, and I'm gonna have to revisit it soon. I'm going to have to revisit this collection, the Finding My Elegy collection, soon. This is her complete poems, so it has every other book that she released, and she released a number of them. But I just read Finding My Elegy, and I want to read you a couple of samples, because it's really interesting. There's a lot of variety in here. She goes through a number of different topics. It's the collection is separated into, I think, 5 parts. It starts with socio-aesthetics, and then it goes to botany and zoology. And so there you had a lot of really animal and nature themed poems. And then the third section is meteorology and geography. And then the fourth was developmental ontology, and then the fifth was philosophy and theology. I probably only know what half of those words mean, But regardless, I enjoyed the poems themselves a lot. Um, I want to read to you two of them. Both are from the first section titled Socioaesthetics. The first one is Guin, probably at her most formal. Um, and yeah, like there's a lot of variety in her poems. So sometimes she would be very formal. Sometimes she would write free verse. And I tended to enjoy the formal ones a bit more, but it was all really delightful in general. So this one is titled Soldiers. So here it is. When I was young, the soldiers filled the streets with khaki brown, and sailors too in white and blue, the glory of my town. My elder brothers all had gone to wear a uniform. I feared for them, but never feared they would do any harm. I knew them brave and kind, I knew them good and nothing more. How should a child conceive the wrong that is the soul of war? None of them killed, and none was killed. And when their job was done, in hope and pride we welcomed them, and said the war was won. When I had children of my own, soldiers were dressed like clowns in camouflage, and no parades went thumping through the towns. No, it was we who marched instead, and we who beat the drum. Women and old men, motley, wild, all shouting, "Bring them home." They brought them home. Some were alive, but all had come to grief, and silence met each one, and shame, as for a coward or thief. We failed them, in righteousness withdrawing our goodwill from the blind courage that obeyed the blind command to kill. And yet in all truth they failed us, as young men ever have, who take the order from old men to dig our common grave. So now my children's children see their brothers in the mud, and tortured prisoners, and streets a marsh of human blood. And it will be in years to come as in the years before. The innocent accept the wrong that is the soul of war. And soldiers still will fill the towns in blue or khaki clad, the brave, the good, who march to kill what hope we ever had. And so that's a very strict ballad form, and I find that very, very interesting, especially, I mean, it certainly connects with what was going on in the rise and fall of the Third Reich. I think it's very clearly anti-war in its themes, and you have, I think, these interesting generational perspectives being represented. First, World War II, in her own childhood, how she kind of innocently saw World War II. There's that line near the beginning: "None of them killed, and none was killed." Well, we know that that's obviously not true, but that's, I think, representing her own perspective of, and the perspective of maybe many other Americans during World War II, a more naive one perhaps. Yeah, and then there's the Vietnam War being represented, and she talks about how the soldiers there, when they came home, they were not welcomed home. They were they were more reviled. And she talks about, yeah, but then at the same time, she doesn't justify the bad treatment of the soldiers, but she also says that we were right in being anti-war, that war is this evil thing, and then that carries into modern warfare. And so I think that's a very affecting poem and extremely formal. And so I enjoyed that. I want to share one more with you. This one is very delightful. This one is titled "Lieder Singer" to Ian Bostridge. And I love listening to German classical song. And this is just delightfully written, and I think it captures, yeah, I think it captures the beauty of music, I think. So here it is, "Lieder Singer." He stands by the piano, tall and lean and black, unsmiling. His hands are tense. Men are unlikely instruments. A piano, too, a strange, awkward thing. He looks out through the audience, waiting for the accompanist to begin the running, rolling, subtle Schubert tune. His gaze changes as he starts to sing. Now he sees nothing. Is he seen? Where is he now in these long-drawn laments, these soft rejoicings in a summer dawn? Like echo hidden near the hidden spring, unbodied into music, he consents to be nothing but voice. The rest is gone. I think that is just wonderful. It just expressing this kind of rapture of getting caught up in music, where everything else disappears. I think it's just I love that poem. So that's Ursula K. Le Guin, an amazing poet. Now I want to talk about some of the books that I want to read in the future. And there are two that I mainly want to show you guys. I'll talk about the first one. I'm holding up a penguin logo because this is the cover of the book that I'm reading. It doesn't show the actual cover of it, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, I'm reading. I saw in Joe Spivey's video that he was reading the Penguin History of the United States of America, and that's added to my wish list on Amazon now. But I haven't bought it yet, because when I was looking for that book on Amazon, I also saw the Penguin History of Canada, and I was like, okay, well now I have to read that first because I live in Canada, and I know our history. I mean, we learn it in school, but I would like to learn more because I'm certainly not an expert on Canadian history, and I believe that there's probably a lot of gaps in my knowledge of Canadian history, and so I just started last night to read the Penguin History of Canada, this is the cover that Kindle is showing. I don't know why, but yeah, it's doing that. So so far I've just been reading the first chapter where it's describing the anthropology of Canada, of how, I'm gonna forget all the names, but of how something like 10,000 years ago, Homo sapiens migrated across I think it's the Siberian something, a piece of land that connected the continent of Asia to North America, and how they migrated over to North America. And I'm learning all about the anthropology, and it's really fascinating. Around 10,000 years ago, even or maybe 9,000 years ago, there was the ice cap covering most of Canada, what is now known as Canada. But then, as it took about 1,000 years for that ice cap to slowly disappear, to recede farther north, and as that happened, the Homo sapiens living there, the humans living there, moved more north. And so yeah, I'm just learning about that so far, but then it's going to go into, it's going to be a complete history of Canada up until the 2000s, because this was written, I think, in 2003. So yeah, I'm following up reading the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich with Canadian history, because I want to read more history, just because I was so thrilled by Shirer's book, that I want to continue it. I want to continue learning about history, and so we're better to continue that process than with my own country's history. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Also though, one more thing. Actually, I have 3 books to show you. Steve Donahue on his channel announced that he would be doing a read aloud of Anthony Trollope's novel. I believe it's titled Mr. Scarborough's Family, and I'm hoping to read along with that. I have I got this cheap ebook titled The Complete Works of Anthony Trollope. I think I can, if you just wait. I can open it here and go to the cover. Here, The Complete Works of Anthony Trollope. So yeah, I have Mr. Scarborough's Family in this ebook, and so I'll read it on this. of course, Steve is reading it aloud to us, so I had the option not to read it myself and just to listen to him. But I think what I would like to do is just take some time before bed each night to read one chapter, and then hopefully if I stick with that, that chapter would be the one that Steve reads on the next day. And so I'll just follow along like that. I did listen to Steve's read aloud of Barchester Towers, but I didn't read it on my own. But I wish I had, because I more so enjoy reading a book with the text rather than just listening, because I'm able to look at the grammar. I'm able to, I just enjoy the sensation of it more. So I want to combine these two things. I want to read it in text and then also watch and enjoy Steve's videos. Steve knows these novels obviously very well, and so he always has really amazing commentary, and it's so much fun watching his videos. So I'm really looking forward to reading this in the month of March. Lastly, and I read The Odyssey by Homer in the George Chapman translation over the winter break, or throughout the month of December. I read it, and I'm intending on following that up with Chapman's Iliad, but I'm a little bit more intimidated by the Iliad because it's not written in iambic pentameter or heroic couplets. It's written in actually, I can't remember the name. What are they called again? I'm drawing a blank on the title of the line, but it has 7 stresses and 14ers. They're called 14ers. Yeah, there you go. So it's written in that instead of iambic pentameter, which intimidates me more because I'm worried that it's going to be just even more dense because of that and difficult to follow along. But I'm still planning on doing it. I don't know if I'm gonna start right away, because I'm reading the history book, the history of Canada, and then I'm reading and then I'm reading this Mr. Scarborough's Family. So I'm hoping to get to this sometime in the early parts of this year or during the spring or summer. But this is definitely in my future. Maybe it would be better for me to wait though until after my semester is over, when I can really kind of dedicate my whole self to it, if that makes sense. And this is actually, I haven't talked about this on my channel yet, but this is going to be part of a much larger, hopefully a much larger reading plan, which was inspired largely by 2 booktubers, Steve Donahue as usual, and then Isaiah at That Reading Guy. Isaiah is doing a reading project where he's reading through the Western canon in a chronological order, and he has this amazing list which he shared with me, and so thank you, Isaiah, if you're watching this. He shared it with me, and it was this really complete, really wonderful list of the Western canon that he's going to be following, and I'm intending to use that as a kind of reference work. I won't necessarily follow it work by work, because I don't have all of the works on there, but I'm going to use it as a reference, just to refer back to and to kind of guide me, because I also want to do that kind of project. I think Isaiah said that he was going to this year read Greek tragedy, but that's that. And I do have actually a volume of the Greek plays here, and once I get to that, I'll read this. But so far I'm still on Homer, and then after Homer, I think I would like to read I would like to read Herodotus and then Thucydides, and then I would probably read the Greek tragedians, and then after that the Greek philosophers. But one thing that I want to do with this is I really want to take my time. I don't want to push myself or set any due dates for this kind of thing, because I already have enough due dates as it is. And so I think if I were to really push myself too much with this Western canon project, then I might end up not enjoying it as much as I could. So I'm just going to kind of I'm gonna have, I think that this is going to be a kind of ongoing project which goes very slowly, starting with Homer, then Herodotus, Thucydides. Maybe I'll just, maybe after reading Chapman's Iliad, I won't go immediately to Herodotus, and I'll start reading other translations of Homer immediately after. Maybe I'll do that. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I want it to be a kind of slow, a very slow process. I want it to be kind of the core of my reading, or the base. If you want to be Marxian, you could see the project as the base, and then I'll have the other books that I'm reading, the history, and the novel by Trollope as a kind of superstructure, which goes on top. So yeah, those are my plans for, I guess, just this year in general, or and in the near future. So I'll stop yapping, and yeah, I mean, it's been a while, so I'm glad that I could make this video now. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it if you've made it this far. So bye bye.